All right, Shalom. All right, first and foremost, I'd like to get all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bashem, Yahweh Shai, Bashem, Kakadash. Double honors to my apostles and bishops of Great Millstone. Peace, salutation to the hopeful elect that's pushing the word in truth and sincerity. All right. I coming at you with a quick lesson, man. Let us not be weary in well doing. So us being in this truth, we can't, we got to stay, doing the work of Yahweh Bashem Shai and not cop out. All right. So we can't be weary, and well doing. Well doing is doing the work, doing your videos, going on the highways and byways, being charitable, being around brothers, and things of that nature, man. So, and also you got to pray to Yahweh Bashem Shai, not to lead you into that weary, that weary demon, that weary stage of you being back in the world. All right. So no further ado, I got Galatians 6:8. It says, "For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And let us not be weary in well doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not." All right. So that's most important. We can't faint. We can't be displacent. You know what I'm saying? And this basically Paul speaking, and basically he's telling us, not to become spiritually exhausted, man. All right. And the point is that, where we, stop doing what is right, and there's basically a due season for a reward, the kingdom of heaven. All right. So it's most importantly not to be, stagnant and weary, and gassing out, lukewarm in this faith and this truth. So we are deep into the last days. We deep into the evil times to be weary, man. All right. So we got to keep on pushing and continue to do the work until Yahweh shall return. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes we get that weary, that weary stage to where you can't really, you don't want to do anything, but we got to constantly do the work. It's times we, rest a little bit, but we got to constantly do Yahweh Bashem Shai's work. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to go to Hebrews 10 and 35. Before I go to that, I'm going to break these. I'm going to go into that word weary. All right. And as a matter of fact, I'm going into that word weary versus weary. All right. It's like it sounds the same, but it's different. Okay. They say people often confuse weary with wary. All right. Weary means tired or fed up. Wary means cautious or alert or to danger. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get into this definition of wary. All right. Wary means feeling or showing careful watchfulness about possible dangers or problems. Okay. And this right here, this wary definition, meaning in the Webster dictionary, means wary means cautious, circumspect. All right. And yep, cautious and being circumspect, man. Okay. So this is two different words. You know what I'm saying? Wary and weary. Okay. So we got to be cautious or suspicious. You know what I'm saying? We got to be cautious of, you know what I'm saying, of our way of being. You know what I'm saying? You got to be cautious, you know what I'm saying, of yourself, because you your own enemy. Okay. You got to be cautious of your flesh. You got to be cautious of the things the things you're going to lead to that's not right. And you got to reset that. You know what I'm saying? You got to basically watch out, you know what I'm saying, for what what you do in this truth. Okay. So the opposite words, trusting, gullible, and cautious, being unwary, and this the three things you don't want to be. You don't want to be gullible or incautious. You know what I'm saying? It's truth. Okay. Wary means feeling or showing careful watchfulness about possible dangers or problems. When you are wary, you do not completely trust someone or something, so you move with caution. But basically, the different meaning of that, weary means to feel tired, drained, and or tired of something because you have experienced too much of it. You can't be tired. It's truth, man. You can't be tired what you learn. You know what I'm saying? You can't be weary. That's why the scriptures I just read, be not weary in well doing. Tired, lacking strength or energy from hard work or a long day. So this truth, basically, you're doing the work. You can't be lacking, you know what I'm saying? And you got to be on fire. I got to be on fire. You know what I'm saying? The brothers that's doing the work of true sincerity got to be on fire. Okay? Tiresome, causing a feeling of exhaustion or boredom. Okay? Now, what I was reading about weary versus wary, all right? Wary means cautious or alert. You know what I'm saying? The danger. And we gotta be wary in this truth. Wary, all right, not weary. Let me see something real quick. It is weary or wary. Use wary if you mean cautious or careful. Like I just read about being circumspect. You being wary in its truth, man. Not weary. See, wary, means cautious, careful, or on guard. Okay. Being wary of strangers asking for, but I really want to read, you know what I'm saying? And weary, you know what I'm saying, means very tired, sleepy, or worn out. You can't be tired and sleepy in this truth, man. Spiritually. You know what I'm saying? It's spiritually. Brothers get tired, take naps and stuff like that. That's physically. But spiritually, you can't be weary. You can't be tired. You can't be sleepy. You can't be worn out in this truth. Okay? So these are the different examples of being weary or wary. Okay. I'm gonna go to Hebrews 10 and Hebrews 10 and 35. It says, "Cast not away therefore your confidence, which have great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the Most High, ye might receive the promise." And that promise is the kingdom of heaven, man. So we can't be weary in well doing. Okay. So, and that goes for me too. It said, basically don't throw away your confidence, you know what I'm saying? Because the reward hasn't appeared yet. Yahushua hasn't appeared yet. So we got to keep on pushing this truth. It's all about patience, and patience is required, man, in this truth. All right. So we got faith, and your faith plays a part in it. All right. I'll read this again. Hebrews 10:35 said, cast not away therefore your confidence, which have great recompense of reward. For ye have need of patience, that after ye have done the will of the heavenly Father, ye might receive the promise. Okay. And also, I'm gonna get 2 Corinthians as well. So and don't be weary because of tribulations, because tribulations come with this truth, man. You know what I'm saying? Trials. But understand that the Lord ain't gonna give you what you can't handle. All right. I'm gonna go to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 8. It says, we are troubled on every side, yet not distressed. We are perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not forsaken. Cast down, but not destroyed. Verse 10, it says, always bearing about in the body the dying of the Lord Yahushua, that the life also of Yahushua might be made manifest in our body. All right. So being in this truth, doesn't mean, we never going to experience trials, tribulation, pressure. OK, it really means that pressure isn't supposed to destroy us, man. If you let it destroy you, you get cast off into the world. You don't want to be weary in well doing. OK, so we got to go through. And also, refining makes you a strong man, man. It makes you a man. Getting refined in its truth makes you more of a man. Make you more of a what you call that, stoic man. Okay. Because, Jake, been raised under their mamas, raised around women and stuff like that. And they got that feminine mindset. You know what I'm saying? Being in this truth, man, you require as a man. You not require as a fucking feminine individual. Okay. So being in this truth is being experienced. You know what I'm saying? In different walks of life, man. Because every brother from different walks of life experience a lot of things. And being in this truth, you're going to experience more things. You know what I'm saying? That's basically one of those experiences, following his footsteps of Yahweh Shema Shai. All right. So, being in the trials and tribulations, don't let it destroy you mentally. We got to keep on fighting. And that's one of the, that's one of the important things in this truth. Fight to get to the promise, man. All right. I'm going to go to John 16 and 32. This is what Yahweh Shai speaking. All right. This John 16:32 say, behold, the hour cometh, yea, is now come, that ye shall be scattered every man to his own, and shall leave me alone, and yet I am not alone, because the Father is with me. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world. See, we got to be in good cheer, man. And this tribulation, in this truth, is expected, man. Because Yahweh, he went through tons of tribulations, man. And he overcome the world, man. Tribulation is expected in this truth. That's how you basically get refined. That's how you get tried. That's how you come out as gold, man. A shiny silver piece. Quitting, and giving up is not the way. All right. And the Lord, he sees our labor too, man. He definitely sees our labor, and I'm gonna go to Hebrews 6. Back in Hebrews 6 and 9, it says, but beloved, we are persuaded better things of you, and things that are accompany salvation through we thus speak. For the Most High is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have shewed towards his name. See, his name, Yahweh Shema Shai, is more important. You know, we shew love towards his name. All right. His name, not Jesus Christ, man. You know, it says, in that ye have ministered to the saints and do minister. Okay. So we gonna labor, we're gonna constantly labor in this truth, you know, and also keep the spirit and pray to Yahweh about Shema Shai to keep that spirit on you to keep going. All right. And that's most important because, you know, niggas don't pray, man. They don't, you know, they don't pray, you know what I'm saying, for the spirit to be on them, to endure to the end. You know, you gotta keep that spirit on you to keep you going until the Lord return. All right. So obviously sometimes, you know, a brother can become weary, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, you know, before, you know, because he feels like, you know, his sacrifice, prayers, labor, you know what I'm saying, and obedience aren't being noticed. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like that sometimes too. You know, sometimes I be feeling, you know, my sacrifices, my prayers, my labor, you know what I'm saying, my obedience are being noticed, you know what I'm saying, by the Lord. All right. And that's when your faith got to come in, because you understand that if you doing your videos, you doing the work, you know what I'm saying, you constantly praying to Yahweh about Shema Shai, you being around the brothers, getting in tune with the brothers, you know, you don't got nothing to worry about, because as long as you don't stop, you know what I'm saying, as long as you don't quit doing what you're doing, all right, we got to keep on doing what we're doing, man, because all hell finna break loose, and it's finna be a whole lot of trials and tribulations on a wide scale. So, you know, we got to keep on, like Paul say, man, we got to race, we got to have that race, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, since I missed it, prize. Let me go with the word prize real quick. I'm read Philippians 3:14. I press towards the mark for the prize of the high calling of the Most High, Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. All right. 1 Corinthians, I think I got it too. 1 Corinthians 9:24 says, know ye not that they which run in a race run all, but one receiveth the prize. So run that ye may obtain. Okay. So we got to run the race to obtain. All right. Let's go to 1 Corinthians 15. Slakia. What's that? 1 Corinthians? Yeah, 15 and 58. It says, therefore, my beloved brethren, be ye steadfast, unremovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord. For as much as ye know that your labor is not in vain in the Lord. All right. So basically, you know, staying steadfast and unmovable because your labor is in vain. Okay. We got to stay steadfast, you know, and let not the world take our crown from us. You know, and that's part of waiting on the Lord as well, too. You know, so we gotta be established and not, you know, and not movable. You know what I'm saying, to the world, man. Okay. So we gotta basically wait on the Lord. Yeah, we gotta wait on the Lord, man, and that's part of our faith too. So I'm gonna go to Isaiah 40 and move this up real quick. 40 and 31. Isaiah 40 and 31 say, but they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up as wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint. Okay. So also, you put that as spiritual power, because the Lord gonna give us that power, Lord willing. Okay. And also, man, you know, the answer to the spiritual weariness, you know what I'm saying, isn't it, abandoning His truth, man. It's basically, waiting on the Lord and trusting in Him to renew your strength. You know what I'm saying? Because the Lord gonna renew our strength mentally and physically, man. Because you gotta understand that we get tired, we get exhausted. You know what I'm saying? We get dragged. Our body's fucked up. So the Lord basically gonna renew our strength mentally and spiritually. Mentally and spiritually and physically. Okay? So that's what we waiting on, That's exactly what we waiting on. So I'm gonna go to Psalms 27 and 14. It says, "Wait on the Lord, be of good courage, and He shall strengthen thy heart," which is your mind, man. Okay? Wait, I say, on the Lord, Yahweh Shema Shai. Okay, so when your strength is low, man, the Lord can strengthen your mind. You got to pray for that. You know what I'm saying? You got to constantly pray to Yahweh Shema Shai to strengthen your mind, man. Okay, you know what I'm saying, and strengthen your confidence. And also, man, Yahweh Shai, is our example of not quitting. He's basically our example of not quitting. Because Yahweh Shai didn't quit. So why the fuck we should quit? Okay? I'm gonna go back to Hebrews. A bad chapter, man. I'm gonna go back to Hebrews 12 and 1. It says, "Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race," see, "that is set before us, looking unto Yahweh Shai, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him enduring the cross, despising the shame, and is set down at the right hand of the throne of the Most High. For consider him that endureth such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest ye be wearied," see, "and faint in your minds." All right. So this is Paul speaking, man. And, it tells us, that to look at what Yahweh Shai endured. We gotta look. We all gotta look at what Yahweh Shai endured, and understand this, man. He was mocked, rejected, persecuted, all right, beaten. You know what I'm saying, and ultimately crucified. Yet he endured. All right. So we finna go through that same thing, man. Scoff that, all that shit. So when we're going through adversity, consider his example. You know what I'm saying? And instead of allowing the trials to make us faint. You can't faint, man. I can't faint. The brothers that's around me can't faint, man. And I'm gonna get this last scripture and I'm gonna close out. This is 1 Peter 2:21. It says, "For even hereunto, we were ye called, because Hamashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example, see, that ye shall follow his steps." Okay, now let's go in that word example real quick. Example.
Strong's G 5261. Hupargramas. Hupargramas.
All right, hupargramas, right? From the Greek, it says copy or imitation. All right. So we got to be an imitation of Yahweh Shai, man. All right. A writing copy, including all the letters of the alphabet. It's a given to beginners as an aid in learning to draw them. An example set before one. All right. So the Lord, you know what I'm saying, is a prime example of suffering. You know what I'm saying, and you know, in persecution. He's a prime example. So we got to follow that example, man. All right. 22. It says, who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Who, when he was reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. Who his own self bare our sins in his own body on a tree. So he sacrificed his whole life for Israel, man. For you Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans. Started with the elect. You know, majority of you niggas don't consider, man. You know what I'm saying? He died for you, man. He only died for Israel. All right. It says that we, being dead to sins, should live unto righteousness. By woes stripes ye were healed. For ye were a sheep going astray, but are now returned unto the shepherd and bishop of your souls. See that? It says Hamashiach is our example, man. So we gotta follow that same example. You know what I'm saying? Be how about Shema Shai. Okay, and also not being weary, man. You know what I'm saying? We gotta pray. We gotta pray to endure. We gotta pray to gotta constantly pray that the Lord don't take the spirit away from us. You know what I'm saying? We gotta constantly endure. We gotta constantly fight, because this is a race, man. We gotta reach that prize, man. Okay. So with that, hope y'all was edified, man. Till next time, shalom.